It can do push. It can do pull. It is the ThermalTake SwaFan. It's got interchangeable fan blades. Let's take a look. So first, a little bit of cross comparison. So this is kind of a TLDR as to where it overall ranks. We got the SwaFan EX, RGB, and the reverse right below it in terms of its ranking for noise normalized, and then at 100%, air in the case simulation and in CFM testing. And kind of a cool thing, you can see what the inside of the fan hub looks like. So you can see the pull motors as to how it actually works, and as you can see the RGB. I just thought it was a kind of cool picture to go along with it. So now a little bit of spec information to this fan. Pretty much bog standard 120mm class fan, hydraulic bearing, 4-pole motor. There's its amperage, same RPM for both fan blades. So you will notice that the forward edition or forward fan blade, regular, not reversed, has slightly higher CFM as well as slightly higher static pressure, while the reverse blade is a little bit noisier. We're going to test that out.
Before we get into the data, I would like to thank Mint Mobile for being today's video partner. Thanks to Mint Mobile's wireless plans, it is possible to not only switch away from big, expensive mobile companies, but also to have a quality, affordable plan for me and my family. Mint Mobile's premium wireless plans start at just $15 a month for a 3-month plan. For that, I can get high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. I can bring my own phone and keep my current phone number, so you don't need to memorize a new phone number, something I have always found difficult. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to digital eSIM cards, which most phones have, you can sign up and activate immediately right from your own phone, from the comfort of your own home. If by any chance your phone doesn't have an eSIM card, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. And right now, for new customers, Mint Mobile is offering 50% off their 12-month unlimited plan. It's the best deal of the year, but it's only available for a limited time. If you're interested in learning more about Mint Mobile and switching, visit my link up above or the link in the video description down below.
Okay, we're going to do our open box experience for the SwaFan 12 EX. So this is the RGB series. They make sure you buy the correct one. There's one that is USB 2 powered, or USB hub powered, I should say, while this one's regular fan header and RGB 4-pin, however many pins. Hang on. I was right the first time. 3-pin plug adapter, and it has the different softwares that it works with. So first up, I have a reverse fan installed. Oh, and it also comes with a little, I don't know what to call it, toolkit. And the main thing in here is lube. So to take a fan out, flip it upside down, place 2 fans as close to the inside of the hub as you can, and press firmly straight down, and it pops right off. So personally I found the easiest way to apply the lube is you twist it off, you get it nice and secure in your hand, and then I aimed right at that little hole. I know that you can also put it on the tip of that, so it's kind of just whichever way, and you don't need a lot. Use very little. But one of the interesting things here is it gives you a good look at how the fan motor is actually designed. This is obviously 4 poles with different magnets. And then you got a permanent magnet right there. And it just creates a magnetic field and it causes it to spin. And then right here you've got the RGB light ring. And we can clearly see how many light sources there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think that is pretty cool, and like you actually get to see the engineering behind everything now. So before we take a look at the housing, here are the 2 different blades, and I just have them lined up like this so that we can take a good look. They basically just look like inverses of each other, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. It means that they should have very similar performance characteristics. I don't remember what I found in the testing. It's been a couple weeks or so since I did the testing. So
They are very similar designed, but one of the main things is that when you're sucking air through the frame, these struts basically block the amount of air that the fan can inhale. Okay, and then when we want to put the fan back in, you just kind of line it up. Right now it's not secure. It doesn't fall out, but it's not secure. And you push right in. So this fan has a wireless type connector. It's got some magnets in there. And you just sort of line it up and give it a little feel. And then it has the way the fans can interconnect with each other. So if you've got multiple of them, they'll just socket right into each other on either side. But when you're plugging in your standard fan headers and stuff like that, it only plugs in on one side. So before we get into the mainstay about connecting the RGB lights, so it sort of looks like it's connected, but it's not. You have to really give it a good feel, just to make sure that it's plugged in properly. And it doesn't take much for it to knock off. And with that, there is the RGB appearance on it. You'll notice the bright spot going round and around and around. That is just an artifact of my camera. I'm trying to actually make it go away. Well, let's go ahead and switch to a solid color. And there we go. And we did count the number of lights in it, and I can visually see a little bit of the bright spots going around the frame. So there are better ones out there in terms of that more uniform, but it creates plenty of light. It's pretty bright actually. So no real qualms there. And it's going to be no surprise, but from the back, just looks like that. It's pretty ugly, honestly. So really, this fan is, you get the two blades, and you always get a nice looking RGB appearance, no matter which orientation you have the fan, because you literally get to swap the blade. However, you do lose a little bit of performance with that reversed blade. So you can't have your cake and eat it too, unfortunately, with this fan design. So you have to pick and choose what you like about it. I think it looks pretty good, but it's not my favorite.
The first series of tests is, in this case, simulation test. A specially designed box by me to simulate approximately a case that can hold 180mm to 200mm class fan airflow down it. And I've taken 4 key measurement locations for standard type case sizes. Now, we need something to compare against. I have a standardized control fan that I use in every review, and just gets a baseline comparison to compare other fans against. So fans that perform over it, I consider good, better, best. Fans that perform underneath it, generally I consider a little bit lacking, but depending on how close they are to it, it may not be too bad. And the SwaFans in my noise normal results are a little bit lacking in their performance. They just don't have the same sort of grunt that I'd be normally looking for in a case fan. At 100% PWM fan signaling, the story is very similar, although interestingly, the reverse bladed SwaFan performs close enough to my control that I consider it to be reasonable as a case fan. So I just found that as a very interesting result at 100% PWM fan signaling. Compared to other fans around them, well, the reverse blade, this more orangey one with the blue dot in the middle, performs closer to the main group, but you can see it still doesn't perform very well, all things considered, and the regular edition really performs rather poorly. At 100% PWM fan signaling though, they both still. I also wanted to note that I have the other ThermalTake SwaFans on this test, so you can see them bouncing back and forth. I have a separate video that will be published or has already been published on that fan with those 3 different blade designs. And I wanted to compare it against a couple other ThermalTake fans just to show that they're really not competing at a very high level in this noise normalized result. Bumping things up to 100% PW fan signaling, while the reverse fade is doing a little bit better here, but I'd still call it underperforming overall for what we would want it to be, and the regular blade really isn't that great overall. And once again, we have the other SwaFans from the non-RGB version in here as well. Next, we're taking a look at decibels versus airspeed. Decibels is horizontal, airspeed is vertical, and every 10 decibels is a doubling in noise volume. So if a line looks linear, it's really not. This table would be logarithmic. So the data points was taken at the 9-inch mark because that's when I tended to see fans drop out, like lose a lot of airspeed. In that case, simulation test. And the regular SwaFan, or normal direction airflow, really is a very poor performer, sitting way down here at the bottom. The reverse blade one is doing a little bit better, but I'd still call it underperforming overall. Reverse blade. Reverse blade pull. Now we're looking at performance through my CPU air cooler. At this time, I'd like to thank you, my viewers, and my Patreon and YouTube members. Thanks to you guys, I was able to purchase a radiator for this channel to do additional testing. Unfortunately, I still don't have a test system to get thermal data, so we're sticking with airspeed. And overall, on average, my findings are that airspeed, so the resistance of the radiator versus the air cooler, the U12A, is overall very similar. So the drop in airspeed across it at the variety of RPMs are very similar between the two devices. That isn't saying that the thermal capacity of it is the same, because I wouldn't expect them to be. It is just the resistance of airflow through it is very similar. If you would like to help support this channel, joining as a Patreon or YouTube member would be the way to do so. And I'd like to note that I've added options to get access to my raw data by joining Patreon or YouTube membership, but I would need an email address to send you the link to gain access to it. If you know of a more efficient way to set up something like that, I'd be interested to know. Right now it's a very manual process. Back to the regular scheduled program. So on these two graphs, we have first one on the left side is airspeed versus RPM. This is basically blade efficiency, and the normal direction airflow is more efficient than the reverse blade, but the reverse blade is doing remarkably well here, outperforming my control fan ever so slightly. And on the right side, we have airspeed versus noise in decibels. And the control fan is overall outperforming both the two blade designs, with the regular airflow design outperforming the reverse blade by a little bit. Comparing it against my wide range of data, in the green lines I have the other SwaFans. The yellow lines are the SwaFan of interest for this review. So the reverse blade is significantly worse in performance. Actually, it's only 0.1 meter per second, but that can be several watts per my key on this side. But compared to other fans around it, it's underperforming in noise normalized results. If noise is of primary concern to you, there are better fans out there. At 100% PW fan signaling, once again, the regular airflow design is outperforming the reverse blade, but this time by not as much of a margin. But it is, the regular airflow is quieter by a pretty significant amount. So 25.5 versus 28 decibels. So not quite half, not double, not quite like 1.5 times as loud, more like 1.25 times as loud, I would say. And once again in the green, you can see the other SwaFans. And now we have decibels versus meters per second for going through the CPU air cooler. And they're closer to the main pack. These are some of the better fans that I've tested that I have up here in this graph. And they're closer to it. They're just on the bottom end of it. Doesn't mean it's bad, just means that there are better options out there. So it is up to you to decide which one to spend your money on. Just a different set of fans that I put on here with the tough fans. So overall, I'd say the tough fans are a much better pick as a fan design than the SwaFan is. Now we're on to my CFM testing. CFM testing is kind of my least favorite type of test because it's more of a scientific exercise than telling you how good a fan is going to be in a average computer type scenario. Because you're blowing air down a tube and it's not telling you how the fan produces its airflow. So all the fans will look very similar to each other in this type of test when you look at it on a graph. Although there are always outliers like the reverse blade, it is completely doing terrible in this test while the regular is doing much better. It's one of the reasons why, if you have the financial means, think about supporting this channel, because I want to update a number of my tests and rev them, and the CFM test happens to be one of them because I just sometimes get these weird outliers that perform really terribly in this test, and I can't explain why. Scythe fans in particular do terrible in this test. Anyways, the Railer Edition blade, very close to my control fan in terms of noise versus the airspeed. Pretty similar overall to what we saw with airflow through the cooler, other than the reverse blade. And how does it compare against the sample selection of other fans? Well, the reverse blade, sitting way down there, doing really bad. Matter of fact, it's sitting next to the other reverse blade. And there's the Kazi Flex, all performing really badly, while the regular edition is doing relatively okay, towards the bottom end of this grouping, but overall okay. At 100% P on fan scaling, the story kind of is the same. So let's just move on to decibels versus CFM. And it's reiterating the same point I was making, that the regular edition of the SwaFan performs well enough, but it's just on the bottom end of the better grouping of fans. So there are better picks out there if you're looking for it. Now on to value. So you have two fan blades for one fan hubs. You can't use both fan blades at the same time on the same hub. So in effect, you're paying for almost two fans in one fan. And it kind of destroys the value of this fan to some extent. So the one with the dotted lines is the reverse blade, and it performed worse at the 6-inch mark than the regular airflow. While at 100% P on fan signaling, the reverse one did better. But if you take a look at like the Tough Fan series, they're overall performing a bit better than the SwaFan series. So you'll have to make your own decision. At 11 inches, you get to see they're not performing very well in terms of this value proposition, performance per dollar, while the Tough Fans tend to do a little bit better. But you also have to decide what RGB you like, what it is, and taking into account that value isn't actual performance. Again, it's just performance per dollar. It is a mathematical formula giving that indication. It ignores RGB, it ignores rotor design, it ignores the bearings, whether things are going to wear out. It's just something that this can't test at this time. CFM testing for value proposition. Well, the SwaFans are doing a bit better here, but still kind of lagging behind the main group. The forward one is doing better than the reverse blade, and performance through the cooler, it's okay. It's kind of underperforming at both noise normalized and at 100%. So there are just better options out there if you really need value, but it's not the worst. It's okay value, I would say, not great. And with that, we're going to start wrapping up this video. So what are my general thoughts about this fan? Well, we know to swap out blades is kind of cool. If for no other reason is it makes cleaning the blade very easy. But it also raises concerns about buildup inside that channel for the bearing. So that would be a primary concern of mine when thinking about purchasing this fan, is that there's the potential for more to get into where that pinhole is. This is the raw data. This raw data does belong to me. If you wish to use it for your own personal use, you may go ahead and do so. If you're going to use it in any sort of monetization, I do ask that you reference me and my channel. After all, I am the one who generated it. If you've got suggestions on ways I can improve my videos, I am always welcome to that, because I think of it as an iterative process. If you would like me to test additional fans, something in particular, please leave it in the comment section below. I will try to get to it. I'm just a one-person show. There's no crew. It's just me doing the testing. So it takes realistically a week to 2 weeks to do all the testing, then video editing, script writing, that kind of stuff, to publish a complete video. So luckily I've got a backlog right now, but that's a different story. If you were thinking about, if you got the monetary means and would like to support this channel, super, Patreon, YouTube membership, I know I've said it before, it really does go a long way. I want to build a couple test systems to allow it to get thermal data for this channel, not just rely 100% on air speeds. So with that, thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you next time here on Computer Tech and More.